Demolition Derby is the greatest sport on earth. Nothing tops it. How many cows do you pass before you see another human being in South Dakota?
We do appreciate you coming on, Gumby.
It's fantastic.
It was.
Every time we tell Derby lies is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we were just actually last weekend. We were with one of your, I don't know, I think it's one of your close friends. We were down in South Dakota with Big Daddy. So.
Oh, Mr. Chrisman.
Yes.
A wagon man.
Yeah.
Did you go through his shop?
Oh, yeah.
Did he take you upstairs?
Oh, yeah.
It's a pretty good habit.
Yeah. He's a collector of all sorts, we'll put it that way.
You know, I thought he was just a wagon guy, and then we went upstairs and the antiques and the auto memorabilia.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah, the Demolition Derby arcade game. I've never seen one before.
Yeah. The sit-down one?
Yeah.
It was the flat top?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty, really, that was pretty cool. I saw that, and then, you know, I went up there to meet, what did I go up there for? I was to meet Devil Dog to pick up some transmissions.
Okay.
Big Daddy's shop.
Yep.
That was the halfway point.
Sure.
What did you think of the drive to get there?
Well, for us, it's only an hour 15.
Yeah.
So that's not bad.
You guys know what Family Feud is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I was driving there. I just was driving from my wife's from South Dakota, Mission, South Dakota.
Okay.
And driving up there, I was like, there's nothing. It was like endless roads with nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, I could come up with a couple good Family Feud questions while driving. One of them was, how many cows do you pass before you see another human being in South Dakota? I was like, man, this is out here. But then you pull up into a cute town. You know,
Right.
Pollock.
Yep.
Well, how's it spelled?
Pollock.
It's Pollock.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that there.
Yeah.
I tell you, he's like, it's not Pollock. I'm like, I'm looking at the words. That's Pollock.
Yeah.
It was Pollock, South Dakota, but man, he's got a nice little setup.
Yeah.
I think he's the mayor, the fire crew chief, the scrapper. I think he does everything in town.
The priest. Yeah, no, he's not. He's not, but he could be. You know, he does a lot for, you know.
He does a lot for the community.
A lot for the community up there.
Fishing and all.
Yeah, I mean.
He does a lot. He's a funny cat. Very opinionated and very political. And makes me laugh every time I see him.
Yeah. One thing with Jeff, you know, he'll tell you exactly what he thinks.
There's never a doubt.
Yeah, a lot of people won't, though. You know, when you come to respect an opinion like that, when you say, "Hey, what do you honestly think about this?" and they'll tell you.
That's the best type of people to be around because you always know where you stand.
Right.
It does not matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And once you have that kind of relationship, it's not a big issue.
Right. Right. Well, I guess what got you into the motorsports, into the Derby and back?
1973 is what happened.
73?
1973, I went to my first ever Demolition Derby back in Bishop, California.
Yep.
And I was, back then there was a cartoon that you guys are way too young called Speed Racer. You probably never heard of Speed Racer. And now you're in the motorsports talking. Maybe you need to go watch a little Speed Racer.
Yeah, maybe.
And my grandmother I was watching Speed Racer at home. She goes, "Do you want to see a real race car?" And she took me over and showed me a Derby car. It was all painted up nice. Every day I made her take me to see it because in a small town there was not a racetrack.
Right.
And she goes, "You want to go to the Derby?" And I go, "Didn't know what a Derby was." And they said, we went, and when they started hitting, my jaw dropped. They couldn't get my head off the arena. And from then on, it was a absolute obsession.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it was like growing up Santa Claus and all that, you know, if you're not good, Santa Claus ain't coming. At my house, it was, if you're not good, you're not going to the Derby. And it was once a year.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was another Derby.
Right.
So it was just one time a year. And
oh, wow.
That's what I lived for. And when I was 14, I bought my first car and started building it, and it didn't run, didn't know how to put a timing chain in a 383 Chrysler.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's where I went down.
Yeah,
from there,
down the rabbit hole.
When I was 16 and never looked back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you still run?
I haven't driven for a few years. I am going to make, I don't know how long of a comeback it's going to be, but this year we're going to get in a car or two. Retirement's right around the corner. I mean, we do podcast, you know.
Right.
Full Contact Derby TV. We do all these other things, and
right.
And so I've got my feet in enough stuff that I feel like I'm still part of the Derby world. But I'm going to get in a couple. Last time I drove, I got hurt, and I haven't driven since then because business and work. It's just been crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not going out injured, so I am going to go out and run a couple this year, and then we'll see where from there.
Sure. And have you been a part of Stirrin Dirt since the beginning?
Yep, first year. Jonny and I sat down. He was running a show called the Hot Rockin' Fourth. He'd done it for 1 or 2 years. I was running 2 or 3 shows for fairs down in Salt Lake.
Sure.
Doing those shows, and we sat down. And I knew Jonny as another driver. It wasn't a business deal. It was intermingled at the shows, and we just sat and started talking about the shows we were putting on. And he goes, and I think it was Johnny's idea, says, we ought to join forces and just do a series of shows together. And we're like, why not? So we were like, what are we going to call it? And I think Jerry, Johnny's wife, came up and said Stirrin Dirt. And we're like, sounds good. We're mixing up the dirt. So it just was a snowball that started at the top of the hill and rolled. Now it was a big snowball. In the last few years, we started to wind down a little bit. The snow's starting to fall off, and it's smaller, which is great.
Right.
I think we're both ready for
semi-retirement.
Yeah, camping. Now that I like camping,
family.
So.
Yeah,
family life.
Yeah.
I mean,
at some point, it's the end of that road's going to come for everybody. You're just like, all right, now I got to focus a little bit more on my family here.
Right.
Well, then you'll see how much derbies are changing.
Yeah.
I mean, from when I started driving to where they're at today, it is night and day. And I grew up, we call it old school.
Yeah.
I'm set in my ways, old school style.
Right.
All these guys, you met with TJ. Was TJ here last night?
Yeah. TJ McPhee.
TJ, those guys are dedicated, good builders. They spend
hours, months, weeks.
And money more. And I never was raised that way. I was raised in, you buy a car that runs and drives. I always bought Chryslers to start. And then I started buying wagons, but they all ran.
Right.
And that's what we ran. And so I'm more of an old school. I like some of the new modern things. Everybody's like, what's the best parts that came out? And I'm like, 2 things. Brake pedals, drive lanes. Because I always hated building drive lanes and using drive lanes. So those are my 2 favorite aftermarket parts, and headers, of course. It changed the whole experience for the crowd.
Yes.
Right. Oh, even the drive shafts have been, since the day they came out, just been monumental. I mean, they've been huge.
Yeah.
It's almost a no-brainer not to have one anymore.
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, right. Well, you can't be competitive.
No. I mean, we see some places will be like farthest placing with a stock drive shaft. They'll have like
Bash for Cash. Somewhere does that.
Yeah, they do some weird awards like that, with stock drive shaft. But it's again, that's a massive gamble.
A huge gamble.
See, we still, out here we're doing. You hear about it back east, the Joker wire class, and Joker lives here in Utah now, and we were talking a couple years ago, and he's like, you guys don't know how big of an impact it would be for you guys if you did a wire class. So we started to put on a wire class 2 years ago for the first time in Utah, and it is factory drive lines, factory.
Right.
And man, what a blessing for Utah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Getting that new blood, because. We're always like, why are there no drivers starting in the sport?
Right.
Why are we not gaining them? And then I said, okay, if you were a brand new driver, you didn't have 10 friends that goes to a show with you, and you went out there and had to run, for instance, TJ McPhee.
Yeah.
Okay, TJ is experienced. He's good. He's got a lot of friends. They all go to the shows.
Right.
I'm a new kid that comes into a show that builds a car in 4 days, goes out in the arena. Who's usually the first car out? And they usually get trashed quick.
Right.
They spent months building a car, the same amount of time as TJ put in his car, because they had to sit there and scratch and go, what's this rule mean?
Yep.
Right.
And they don't come back. That's where we're losing, So a wire class has got rid of that.
Right.
A lot of that, and it's really been a huge blessing because we're gaining, getting kids excited. Young kids are winning $1,000 when they're 13, 14.
Yep.
And they're getting a little experience. And we've watched over 2 years as they have got to be a lot better. You can see them the first time they're out there shaking, and then now they're like coming out, and now they're on
Confident.
the internet with each other, talking smack with each other, and they're excited about it.
Yeah, right.
That's the best thing that's happened for us in years.
Yeah, right. And you were a big part of the Vegas show.
Great shows.
Yeah.
First Vegas show. Which show were you guys at? I don't remember.
I ran the team show.
Team.
Yeah.
About 19.
Yeah.
I have lots of good memories of that show, and I have a lot of really bad memories of that show. That track beat us.
Yeah. It hurt you guys. Yeah.
There was about 3 or 4 things. You know, I tell people about the Vegas show. They're like, "What did you think about it?" And I go, "The first shows we did in Vegas, which were the 3 individual nights, probably the best shows we've ever put on in our life."
Yeah.
I mean, they were just spectacular, and they just well received. The second Vegas show, which was the team show,
Yep.
probably a little over our heads at the time. You know, we've all been to Blizzard Bash. We've all
Right.
done those shows, and we're like, we can do that.
Right.
Oh boy, I tell you, it's not as easy as it looks.
Right.
You know, and not to say we were over. I think if we were to do it again, we could get it right.
Right.
We have different you know, now we know what it takes.
Right.
And you don't know the difference between a driver East Coast to West Coast. They are completely different in mentality,
Yep.
thought, reasons for doing things. And so blending all that culture out west,
Right.
because we had a lot of West Coast drivers that don't travel east.
Right.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, he's cheating. I'm like, no. But, you know,
Right.
you can't explain that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was we took our lumps, and rightfully so. You know, as promoters don't always do things that are right either. You
Right,
know? And so,
right.
you know, I don't think there was any ill intent in it, but at the same point, some lumps.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But love the show. I mean, I don't think, I will say, coast to coast, you will not ever find another venue or anything anywhere close to what happened in Vegas.
Right. Right.
That's still probably our number one most, are you ever going to do Vegas again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, they don't want to do Vegas at the racetrack.
Right.
When you can sit on top of the casino in the swimming pool and watch the show down, you can walk
Yeah.
into a buffet 5 minutes away, and
Right.
while you're in, throw $20 on the blackjack table, and just the party, you know, Fremont Street across the. I mean, how do you top? You
Yeah.
don't.
That's,
Right.
You
That
can't.
was an experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And will it happen again? Maybe.
Working on it.
Yeah.
We are trying to make it happen. The problem with Vegas, I can put 2.5 of our big shows on
Right.
for the cost of one Vegas show.
Right.
Yeah, I know I talked to Jonny, I don't know, it was a couple years after I ran Vegas, because we did win a spot back, if it were ever, you know, how that
Yeah.
format went. And, well, Jeff had ran one of our shows, so I talked to Jonny about the whole points deal. And I asked him, you know, the same question. He basically said the same thing. You know, even the seating alone was, like, mega expensive. Mega expensive.
And the problem is COVID is what really
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have the arena there, and then
Yep.
they bring in a couple small bleachers for their shows.
Right,
The big bleachers were brought in for the Derby.
right.
Get those put in. If I recall, 50, 60 grand to bring them in, set them up.
I think that's, yeah, if I recall right, that's what Jonny told. It was like something like $8 a seat or something like that.
bring 'em
that
in.
come up to like 50 grand.
And our part of the deal was, we'll bring in the drivers to fill your hotel room. You're providing the arena
Right,
and the seating. And now they've tore all those out, and they're like, if you want to come back,
it's on you.
you have to pay. And it's like,
Right,
so, you know, a show that
a lot more upfront costs.
we're probably, if you were at the team show, which was a lot more expensive because of prize money,
Right,
it would probably cost $250,000 to put that show on.
Right.
yeah, oh yeah,
And that's just like, do you want to pay $150 a ticket to watch the show?
right.
I don't think you
Was the Plaza pretty good at working with you guys as
Plaza
far
was
as?
great to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were all in, but when COVID hit, you know, they were shut down for how much money did they lose over it? You know,
Right.
so it affected
Everything.
in your communities. I'm sure it affected
Oh, yeah.
costs and everything, and so it just changed the
mentality
of it, the ability to do it.
Right.
You know, we had 2 more shows scheduled, and every time we get closer to COVID, the city wouldn't release and allow it. And,
Right.
and by that time, they'd pulled the bleachers down because they were charging them to rent. You know, it's like it shut it all down.
Yeah, when that COVID kind of came through, obviously that screwed everybody. You know, east to west, north south, all these shows that were planned, and you know, and then in some areas it drug on for a lot longer. You know, than normal.
Right.
Like we had, you know,
California, New York, I think it's still affecting a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right.
And in 1920, we had some guys from Canada coming down running
Couldn't get across
on
the
our
border.
shows, and they're like, you know, a lot of our places back home are still shut down. He's like, so either we come down here and run, or we don't. We stay home and
If
don't
they
run.
can get across the border.
Right.
Yeah, the border was the issue. You
Yeah.
know, especially towing in and towing out. I know
Right.
people that were coming into Blizzard Bash they had, you know, they're in the oil industry, and so they
Yep.
were able to get across the border for work.
Right.
So they were building cars in the States,
Yes.
living in Canada. You know, Devin
Granville, yeah.
Devin
I
Granville.
mean, he was building in the U.S.
Yeah.
from Canada. Great guy, by the way.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yep.
All them Canadians. I'm telling you, that is you talk about the difference in a driver from New York to California. Well, that Canadian group is its whole type of, you know, amazing people, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've had some experience with it. You know, while all of our shows are right, obviously on the border there,
Yeah.
so we get a few of those guys to trickle in.
Have you ever met Neil Wynot?
Neil, why not? I don't know about him.
He's a hoot. Oh, man. He's one of those that you know where you stand walking in the front door. It's
Right.
like, man, you judged me already? I haven't even said hello yet, you know? But, no, great people.
Yeah, they are. We've had good luck with them.
Yeah, but back to what I was saying there with COVID, you know, coming back those first when derbies first started happening again, you know, the car counts were down everywhere. A lot of people didn't come back right away, or you know, for financial reasons maybe. You know, a lot of people obviously went unemployed or got laid off when their place of employment got shut down for a while there. So then like coming back into it, you know, for a matter of different reasons. You know, maybe some people just got lazy. You know, we're like I'm used to not. For the last year, I didn't spend my whole summer building the cars. It was
Right.
kind of nice.
Well, you get government handout checks and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting to hear from your perspective up there. Here in Utah, Stirrin Dirt has had 2 of the best years we've ever had after COVID.
Yeah.
You cannot go to and I'm not going to say it's just Stirrin Dirt, because we've got, you know, Stirrin Dirt, there is 3 or 4 pretty darn good promoters or people that run shows here in Utah outside of us. Mm-hmm. We're having amazing success. The last 2 years, every one of our shows have sold out with drivers and cars. Like right now, we've just released we opened up registration for our 4th show this year. The first 3 are all full.
Sure.
Cannot sell another spot into them. We're over full, and it's been sort of crazy. It's like where Vegas, we got killed in Vegas.
Yeah.
Here, blessed. It's like
Right.
arenas sold out. It's crazy.
Right.
So, but it's interesting how a pandemic or a national, I'm going to call it a national crisis, 'cause,
Yeah.
you know, we all have our different belief systems of what it was all about.
Right.
Depending on how you look at it,
Yeah.
It's how that can affect so many people in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Switch gears a little bit. What got you involved in the Gladiators of Steel?
Boy, I have to reminisce for that. No,
Yeah.
You know, years and years ago, I was in a show called Kings of Crash.
Yes.
That was back in 12. I think we filmed in 12, and I broadcast in 13. Good show. Truly not a documentary, truly a reality show. A lot of twisting of words and splicing of words together. You know, that definitely happened. You know, didn't even know it was going to happen until we watched it the first time. Like, holy crap!
Right.
I don't remember that, but okay, you know.
Right.
And then a couple years in 15, 16, another company came along and we filmed a whole show, a whole season. It got to the point where episode 1, it was going to be a series, was done, completed. It was amazing. And for one reason or another, financially, it did not happen.
Sure.
I'm not going to lay the blame on anything. It sat there. Well, after 2 years of waiting for that to happen, Rocco, who's the director, was also the director of that show. All of our contracts, no compete clauses had expired, and we're like, you know something, we've got enough knowledge that we've done this, we've done something like this before, but they've all been a lot of reality based. There's a lot of stuff that, I'm not going to say the word scripted, but they're like Rocco's like, have we ever thought about filming a true documentary?
Right.
And we're like, honestly, no. But they're like, run the numbers, see what's going to cost. And Stirrin Dirt was presented an opportunity to be an investor. Now, Gladiators it's not Stirrin Dirt.
Right.
Make that it's not Stirrin Dirt Racing. It is Gladiators of Steel. Stirrin Dirt invested money in it.
Sure. Yep.
And we let them use some of our shows to film.
Right.
And answered a lot of questions of what would be good. And the point was, everybody's like, make it a true documentary.
Right.
I've had people contact me afterwards and said, I thought it was a little bit of a Stirrin Dirt commercial. And I said, okay, let's step back. I said, did you hear in the Vegas show how they were criticizing Stirrin Dirt?
Right.
Did you hear how they said we told them, I don't care if you want to use Stirrin Dirt in the show, but be real. If we do something wrong, put it
explain
in the show.
Yeah. Right.
Explain it. We want it to be real. And you hear a little bit. It's an amazing. Have you guys had the chance to watch it?
Yeah.
What did you think? You're coming from not Utah. What did you think, honestly?
I liked it. So the big take I get out of it, we talked about this with Rocco and stuff yesterday, but you can tell from the interviews, even the little short interviews where they just get a quick opinion out of one of the drivers at one of the shows or something. They're telling you what they're actually thinking.
Yeah.
A heartfelt message.
Which you don't get.
And I will say, and if we're all to be honest about it, you get a little bit of the Utah West feel of what a derby is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, and I tell everybody, if I was to go film in Ohio, I'm going to have the exact same experience. It's going to have the Ohio experience.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. But everybody's like, what were you hoping to? I said, we didn't look at the derby drivers per se and the derby crowd as what we wanted this to look like.
Right.
We said, if this is presented to the world, to people outside of Utah, outside of the United States, or into the United States where people don't go to a derby, do they understand what a derby's about?
Right.
That's what it was there to represent, so you can see how much time, passion, love. That's why it's broken up into different, you got the Derek Shelley, the family side of it.
Right.
How many different families could you put in that video?
Right.
Thousands.
Across the country.
Yeah, there's
And
lots.
if the people across the country that don't go to derbies can see that and appreciate it, then it was successful.
Right.
And that was what was aimed at. Now, we hope that drivers and that really enjoy it, because if it does good and it continues to go forth and it gets into where the mainstream public that doesn't build derby cars starts watching it and it does really well, a season 2, a season 3, or a show 2, show 3 could happen, and maybe those go to Kansas, New York, Canada, and film there, so you can see a little bit different perspectives, because the story's only partially been told. It's just, and that's, so we got involved that way and said, sure, we'll invest in it, and it was a good experience.
Yeah.
And I think I've watched it. I try to watch it from everybody's perspective, and I think we've hit the mark. I think we had that red carpet, and we personally had people invite people that had nothing to do with derbies.
Yep.
And we did the red carpet because we wanted to see what the perspective from non-derby world was.
Right.
And so you see if there's testimonials, those were true people that didn't do the Derby world.
Right.
And I was like, good to know. And so
Right.
that's what we were after, and I think it was good.
Yeah.
Right.
And the video, you got to admit, some of those in-car camera hits in Vegas,
Yeah.
oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. The footage, I mean, you got plenty of great footage. There's no doubt about that.
And we have about 400 hours of that stuff on camera, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked with Rocco. He's said he's got a lot of stuff they're going to work on, putting out some individual heat stuff like that.
Well, there's a ton of stuff out there. And you use 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you're getting all that in there. But at the same time, you need all the footage because you gotta be collecting all that to get the best experience for the end product.
We're actually creating a video from all the Vegas stuff with stuff showing the plaza, and we're going to create a really nice video.
Sure.
And present it to the plaza.
Okay.
So they can use it for plaza experience stuff, and then hopefully it'll entice them to say,
Let's do this again.
this was cool,
Right.
Yeah.
and see what we knew.
Yeah.
It's called angles, working on the angles.
Yeah, you have to.
And it's, like with that whole, with the show itself, there's a lot of people there that would never have even went to Vegas had that show not been there.
Right.
Well, you heard about the jail across the street, didn't you? So the first show, which was I think they were 30, 35 car shows. They were just 3 heats, a garage, a main, and a mini car, and they were just in and out in 3 hours, go party.
Yep.
Trophy ceremony out underneath there. We had midget wrestling and everything going for it. We had a bunch of stuff prepped for them. That was a party. But during that show, right across the street from the arena, if you looked up at the building,
I remember
there's
that
some
now.
bars on the that was the jail.
Yeah.
And they said that somebody came from over after that works for the jail, and they said you couldn't see what was going on there, but all the inmates were up against that windows, just pounding on the walls, just because they got to, what do they get to see? They get to see out on the street and cars passing.
Right.
Right.
They got to see it Derby, man, and it was riling up the prison inmates.
That's awesome.
And they said it was crazy, the excitement going on inside the prison.
Didn't know that.
I did know. Now they say that, I remember that it was across the street, but
and we're like,
I never even thought of that.
how many of them there was there? We're going to send you a bill for $35 a person.
Yeah.
But no, it was what a show.
Right. So aside from that, what's next? What path is Stirrin Dirt going to take?
Stirrin Dirt is on. You heard the word status quo.
Yeah.
We've got our fair shows. We've all the big shows. The last one we had was Wasatch Wipeout, the 50 to win. That never actually won. It got split because there was rules that Utah is about. And I talk Utah. I'm not saying any shows are bad. I think, I was like, what are we going to talk about on this podcast? And I'm like, I can go to a show Midwest that I think is the most boring, absolutely waste of a show, in my personal opinion.
Yep.
But the guy standing right next to me is as involved as any driver in any show in Utah, and is passionate about that show, and is excited and riled up. There's no such thing as a good show, bad show.
Right.
But Utah shows, we want to keep going what we have. And so I tell you, we had a Wasatch Wipeout I was bringing up, that we wanted everything to be over in 25 minutes.
Right.
So we put rules in place, and then it didn't happen. And so drivers didn't lose their money, but instead of giving it to one person, we spread it out to everybody. And a lot of people didn't like it.
Right.
I got a lot of crap and flack over it, but it is what it is. And
Right.
I said it, had to do it. I couldn't back out of it, or else I'd have created another reputation. So,
Right.
So we lost that show. We got outbid, which was fine. We're slowing down.
Right.
If there was something interesting come up that was different, like Vegas could come back or something like that, we'd be interested in playing, or something else. But right now we're still doing 7 shows, and every one of them are successful. They're sold out. We almost call them cookie cutter.
Right.
Close your eyes, you can run the show.
Right.
And then Jonny is misunderstood a lot of times. You know, he's got some people that get frustrated by him and everything.
Yeah.
But when it comes to promoting and marketing, there's nobody better in the country.
Yeah.
The boy can do it.
Yeah.
And so right now it's simple for him. He's semi-retired. Put those 7 shows on, have a successful, drivers like him, drivers get paid.
Right.
If something new came along, you know, it's like what Sam Williams is doing this year.
Right. Right.
There was something like that, not us doing a show with him, but where we could put on a series there was always talk of grabbing that, you know, that shows is from and to be fair, I haven't read into it a lot.
Yeah.
But if every show was individually as strong as the end,
Right.
not all you guys are helping me, but we're all equal in,
Right.
and we put on a big show together as a big group at the end of the year,
Right.
that would be interesting.
Right.
Right.
That would be fun.
Yep.
Right.
You know, maybe we can get 7 promoters help put on Vegas, and everybody does their shows, and we all cross promote. Something like
Right.
that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
Those are the kind of things. We're up for something new and exciting. That Jonny likes a challenge,
Right.
and so we'll see.
Yeah.
Never say never. You know, you never know in this sport. Yeah, somebody come up with a crazy idea tomorrow that might just be
You know,
something that's never been done.
and you know what's going to make anything new is good.
Right.
People are, you know, Blizzard Bash is probably one of my. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
You know, people say, "Oh, they all get whining and complain." I'm like, where are you going to get that?
Yeah.
Anywhere else?
Right.
True.
You think Sam's going to do it? South Dakota, November, December, South Dakota. Do you know how cold it is in North Dakota? You know how cold
Oh,
it
I
is
know.
out there?
We're very
I know.
familiar with
I'm
that.
like, and that,
Yeah.
and, you know, the feedback I'm getting across the country, I've talked to a lot of, everybody talks about it. I mean,
Right.
Sam's a good marketer. He knows how to market himself.
Oh,
really
absolutely.
well. Everybody's like, so what do you think? I'm like, what do you think? And they're like, do you know how cold it is up there?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like typically a destination city in November, December.
Right.
So, I don't know if Topeka, Kansas is either, but
Right.
they've got, man, that's a show. A little for everybody. You know, everybody's like team show. The first day and maybe the second day are the show.
Yeah,
Everything
they
else,
are.
I don't even care if I watch.
Yeah, like the national feature and
National heats, I like.
Heats is where it's
heats,
at.
but the feature.
It's too. I'm not going to say it's rigged because I don't believe it's rigged, but it's pecking order.
Yeah.
And they're all friends, you know. And they've
Yeah.
all been running against each other.
They
for
know
years.
who is going to be at the end.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just
Right.
telling you that if you want to say, "Hey, come and do this," you have a chance. You don't have a chance.
Right.
I mean, we had a team come out of Utah, back Mont Sweat, TJ, Nick
Yep.
Wolf, and that. They took 4 Cordobas out there,
Yeah, I remember that.
and they said, "This." I think their personality going into it was, I mean, they couldn't have picked it better. They got Brzezinski.
Yep.
All those guys were in their heat. I mean,
Yep.
they couldn't have drew it any better.
Right.
They said, this heat is our championship.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they knew after that heat, they didn't have it.
Right.
And they went out there and trashed it. Destroyed their cars.
Right.
But guess what? They won that heat.
Right.
And, you know, going home out of that, it's like, it wasn't 4-on-1 in the main event. It was 1-on-1 in the heat, and we beat you.
Right.
Right.
To me, that was pretty cool. I was like, awesome. I was like, we can go home.
Yep. Yep.
You're right, though. The first 2 nights in the heats when it's team versus team, and only one's coming out of there.
I love it.
That's where it's at.
It is.
I mean, that's where it's at. There's no political anything in that. There's only one team coming out of this and advancing.
Right.
Or maybe, you know, sometimes you end up with a 3-team heat, but regardless, that's where the fun is.
And you watch as they go on. After heat's won, if you're a driver, your skill is, let's say you're a Don Santel,
Yep.
best drivers in the country. He's amazing. The boy
Yep.
can drive.
Yep.
He's dedicated, but he's got a different driving style
Absolutely.
than the heat style.
Right. Right.
Once you get out of the heat, if you're qualifying, you say, Don, bring it home for us, you know, because then there becomes strategy.
Yeah.
But in those heats, it's
Yeah.
It's gladiators.
Yeah.
Kill or be killed.
That's
Yep.
exactly
and
it.
so the whole format there changes, and that's what makes it so fun and different.
Right.
It's truly one of my favorite shows is probably
Kansas.
I don't know how you I've been to the one in March, and it's just a show. That Blizzard Bash, there's something to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and as much as there is, it's any show, there's always politics, and there's always the drama with the promoters afterwards. But that's any show. And quite frankly,
that's
if
like
those
opening
people,
door to get in the house. It's
it's just part of it.
quite frankly, if those people leave, someone new's going to take their spot.
Oh, yeah.
Always down there. It's just how it's going to happen. And maybe sometimes that needs to happen to get some fresh
I've heard
blood in.
rumors that some of the Nationals guys are going to jump up and follow Sam up north. Great, that's awesome. It doesn't hurt, but
Maybe it gives a chance for new guys.
you need that fresh blood. And
Yep.
And again, if you've done the same show 5 straight years,
Right.
sometimes it's fun to try a different venue, something.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
It's not bad for the driver. It's not bad for the show because, everybody watching the same team. I mean, it was sort of cool saying, what's Brzezinski going to bring this year? I
Right.
mean, that's the question.
Right.
Going into the week, it's like, what are they going to do?
Right.
It's like, 2 years ago when they brought those wagons, I was like,
Yeah, the viral wagons. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yep.
They kicked him out. I'm like, I want to see what that thing's going to do.
Yeah,
Or
everybody
Sean
did.
Port's caddy wagon
Oh.
2 years ago or whatever it was. Man, I'd have loved to seen that thing.
Caddy wagon.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, my everybody's like, if you're promoters.
Yeah.
Do you get a question? What do you think about their call there? Do people ever call and ask you that question? What do you think about the call they made? I'm like,
Yeah.
not my show.
That's
I do
exactly.
not care.
Right.
I get that. We constantly get that. But I'm like, my whole thought process was, I know what you're allowed to get away with and build a car there. What was the big deal?
Right. Right.
I mean, I would have loved to see those because I'm like, them cars are, they're the best of the best when it comes to
Building.
creating something.
Yes.
And it's like, I would like to see it run just for the fact they're like, well, it doesn't fit this rule. I'm like, does any of those cars really
Fit the rule.
90% of the 90% of the drivers across the country see those builds and say they're all cheated.
Right.
They're not, because I mean, that's what when you go to a show, you know that you can do that, so it's not
Right.
cheated.
Right.
But it's like, that's where you're going to draw your line in the sand is because it was I'm like, America wants to see that car
Yeah.
run.
Oh, yeah.
And
The thing is, too, when you go to a show of that quality, every one of them drivers has to push the limit.
Yeah.
Have
if you
to.
don't,
You have to, or you're going to get killed out there.
Yeah.
That's just the way
right.
it is.
Right.
You're going to get killed out
but
there.
the rule is if you don't have to cut 20 hours, you've underbuilt or something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, when you go to a show of that quality, especially them big team shows, and like Blizzard Bash, for instance, it's been one of the biggest shows in the country for years, on the team scale. Some of them names, you go run through any year and look at the names of the drivers down there, and that if you pay attention half of the Derby world, you can recognize half of the names on there and
It's
go,
the who's
Right.
who.
that's
Right.
exactly it, and go, okay, that's wild. That's going to be a wild heat. Oh, that one is too.
It is truly the Daytona 500 of derbies.
Yeah.
It is truly the king of the hill till it gets knocked off, and I don't even know how you knock it off because as they leave, people will replace them.
Yeah.
Well, but with that happening, it's going to change the show.
It will. It will.
But even the people say there is a few people that, go up to Sam's show, which is fine. Like you said, they want to go try something new. Most of those national drivers have been doing it for years. They probably won't be doing it a lot longer. They're whatever, middle-aged, upper middle-aged.
So coast to coast, you guys are all over now doing this.
Yep.
Do you see a shift in theories on derby builds going from here
Yes.
back down
Yes.
to here?
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
And I don't think it's going to change. I think what I would like to see, and I think really is one or two of those build shows a year.
Like
that
Blizzard Bash.
Like Blizzard
Keep
Bash.
it there.
And everybody else stay down.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
number one, and maybe I'm wrong, because Blizzard Bash is, everybody's like, why is it sells 7,500 seats out. It did the last couple of years. That's
Right.
pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not very many, I call them off the street fans of those shows.
Right.
That's
Right.
7,500. Well, it's probably 6,500 people
Right.
that have flown into that city to watch that show.
Yep.
Right.
That's we call them a destination show.
Yep.
There's a few. There's not very many of those kind of shows out there. I mean,
No.
there's that one. Bash for Cash is sort of that way.
Right.
I think that's what Sam's trying to build with his Gold. Is it Gold? What is it?
Gold Rush.
Gold
yeah.
Rush. Yeah.
Nationals, yep.
I think that's what he's trying to build is this new, and trying to pull other cities shows along with it. But I'm more interested in season 2 than I am season 1.
Yeah.
I want to see how they pull season 1 off. But
Right.
there needs to be East Coast destination show, a West Coast destination show. Vegas was truly that, a destination show.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if we could have kept that going, it would have been a true destination show.
Right. Right.
I don't know if there's any show that's ever had people travel farther than Vegas. And we had one guy that was 56 hours.
Yeah.
It
That's
was up above New York and Canada, coming like 56 hours. I'm like, he's at our show, and I'm like, are you crazy? I wouldn't do, that's,
thought I was crazy for driving 21.
yeah, 50, I think it was 56 hours. I'm like, that's just nuts.
And it's not just the car you got to get there. It's the parts. It's the tools. It's
You take a month off of work to drive that far.
well it's
Vegas. But he says, it's Vegas. I'm like,
it
and most of the people that showed for that Destiny show had never been to Vegas.
Right.
So that's what made it cool too.
Right.
Yeah, but back to a lot of the experienced drivers that we've got up in the Midwest there, we've talked to some guys in Montana, a lot of drivers in North Dakota, some guys over in Minnesota, South Dakota. The guys that have been doing it for a long time, especially the guys that have worked their way up into builds over the years, I think up in the Midwest, builds obviously, across the country, but in the past 6-7 years went this way. Some of them guys have been doing it for a long 15, 20 years. They're like, here's
Ready to
where we
come back
want to
down.
be, because now that I'm getting older, I'd still like to enjoy the sport, but I don't have the time, ambition, honestly, I don't want to have to
Right.
build a car for 3 months for one show. Like, if you give me a set of rules where I can throw a car together in a weekend, and when you got that kind of knowledge base and experience, you can.
Sure.
They're like,
Right.
then I can run more and I can enjoy it with less stress involved and less family time missed.
Right.
And there is something to be said about that, because I don't know how much fun Blizzard Bash is once they get there. The competitive when you're in the car, but man, that month and a half before, the whole
Treacherous,
weekend,
yeah.
you see a guy loading up in his truck to go home after that show, they're done.
Yeah.
They are
Eat.
done.
Yeah.
And that is a true lover of driving. Somebody that's going to put it all out there. And he just did.
Right.
And you have to appreciate him. But to me, I'm like,
Right.
it's just not my personality.
Yeah,
right.
The one and done's at Blizzard Bash. Oh yeah, tow it out there, just truck trailer,
Yeah.
load it out there, go
No
kill it,
tools.
load it, strap it, let's go. That's what it's about.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You talk about work like in Blizzard Bash, and we already spoke about Devin from up in Canada. Blizzard Bash there. Granted, he's got a team of guys. That
You have to.
But I think he went through 3 motors at Blizzard Bash. I think
This year, yeah.
3.
A
talk
motor
about
of heat,
being-
basically.
Yeah, you want to talk about being dead. And the amount of work they put into building the car to start with, and then to not sleep for 3 days down there. By the time that show's over, some of them guys are.
I am glad that there's drivers that
Do that.
because that's part of the entertainment value. Is
Yeah.
I watched Thursday, Friday show, which is the one-on-ones.
Yeah.
That's what I watched.
Yep.
The rest of the weekend when I go out there, I usually walking through the garage, just shaking my head, watching what they're doing, and appreciating what they're doing.
Right.
I have never had anybody rent a tent and have it shipped over to a show of ours, even when we were doing a 2-day show.
Yeah.
And shipping in a tent, I'm like, there's dedication.
Oh, yeah.
But again, you have to appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and the best of the best. You talk to Don Santel's. It is great to walk into a room and, see a Don Santel sitting there and go, that's one of the, it's sort of like if you were a huge NASCAR fan and Jeff Gordon walked by, it's Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I used to like NASCAR now. I'd be, hey, Jeff,
Right.
I see Don. I'm like, That's one of the best.
Right.
You know, you look at some of these guys and you're like, right there is royalty right there.
Right.
And that's cool that we have that in this sport.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, love it.
You know, it's one of the better things to come out of, you know, the world going to a lot more social media stuff and, you know, things being televised now and pay-per-views and stuff like that, where people that can see some of these shows, they're able to follow kind of drivers throughout the year.
Right.
Versus before, you know, 10, 15 years ago, you didn't hear anything about it unless you went to the show.
Right.
Social media has made derbies 10 times better.
Yep.
It made them 10 times worse.
Facts.
There's so much bad that comes out of social media.
Yes.
And,
yes.
you know, I call it and maybe not the social media per se, because, you know, there's guys that are doing YouTube and it's fantastic. I mean, we're seeing,
Right.
where am I going to see a show in New York?
Right.
You know, until, you know, the podcast, you know, your Mark Kleins, your you know, Josh and those guys, they do great jobs. I mean,
Right.
everybody complains about, this, that. And I'm like, they're presenting something to you that you'll never be able to see
Right.
if it wasn't for them.
Right.
Right.
You got to be grateful that there's not, if 5 companies were doing it,
Right.
thank you.
Right.
You know, now it's where I don't like is when they pull up their computer, open the screen, and want to tell you how that derby was when they were not even there. That's the part that's the negative, is these guys that think they're derby
Right.
gods that.
Where were you?
I'm not going to say they're not relevant because they're a fan,
Right.
but they just need to
Right.
shut the keyboard down and watch it and enjoy.
Right.
So there's my political 2 cents right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially from the promotion side of it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Criticism is not always a bad thing.
Right.
Criticism's made Stirrin Dirt a lot better, and
Right.
You got to have it.
guess what? This year we're going to make some mistakes,
Yeah, well,
guaranteed.
that's just how it is.
And I apologize now. We're going to make some.
Everyone's human.
But honestly, it does make you better too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the feedback, one good or bad, I mean,
Right.
you're not going to make any improvements.
You really want to see what, you know, the Jeff Christmans, when they come in and they criticize or say something, and this is it's like, I'm probably not listening to you right now because the show, when you're doing it, it's right here, everything's still live. But tomorrow, as we're home and we talk about it, you know, we have changed a lot of things after the fact because, you know, trying
Right.
to listen to what somebody said.
Right.
And they're like, maybe he's right.
Right.
We've heard that and done that a lot.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, you just have to.
Yeah.
Obviously, we could go on that one forever, but
Right.
Yeah, how many hours we got this now?
yeah. I don't have much else here.
No, I don't have much else for you.
Tear it up, and appreciate you having me on, and it's great to tell derby lies because it's all been lies.
Yeah, hopefully we'll catch you at a show this year.
Talk to you later.